Simply Beautifully Constructed Hometown is a show that will undoubtedly remind you of your hometown, making it feel like a cozy hug or a Sunday night binge-worthy experience. The fireplace is basically sitting there like a piece of furniture. Ben Napier has been running this reality show for 7 seasons, and he's become kind of a celebrity in not just his small town, but in all of the U.S. Ben, along with his wife, flipped some of the oldest and creepiest places into a dream house, and we've got to say that he has a knack for woodworking. He spent years polishing his craft, and now he looks at a house and instantly makes an image in his mind of what it's going to look like after flipping. However, lately he's been missing from our screens, and his fans are wondering what really happened to Ben Napier from Hometowns. Do you want to go look inside? Yes, we do. We can't wait to see that. Let's go see her. Come on in. Oh my God, oh my. Yes, yes. Before Ben Napier became the skilled woodworker and host that we know and love, he was actually a very religious person. He comes from a family of ministers, and both his father and mother were also ministers. So he felt like it's his responsibility to be one too from the very beginning. He was trained to work in a church, and he actually became a minister at a very young age too. But he was involved in woodworking from the very beginning, and he used to turn the most crappy things into aesthetic and modern stuff in no time. He used to get a lot of compliments for that too, and eventually woodworking became his passion. Working a full-time job as a youth minister and Methodist church at that time, so he knew that he had to make a choice and pick one career path that he actually wanted. So he started working with different businesses and honed his skills while being a full-time woodworker. He also met the love of his life on the way, and today we know them as Ben and Aaron, the epic duo. Ben continues to be fairly religious and makes an effort to practice as much as he can, but his focus is now on his career. The show has made him somewhat famous, so everyone wants him to design countertops and cabinets for them. However, they are working for a bigger cause, now that the authorities want them to turn the vintage into something a little more modern that could attract investors. So Ben has been doing all the woodworking, while his wife is also helping him equally by managing the GRA. Ben gained a lot of weight just when his career was at its height, but he was already a bigger man, and he even admitted that everyone in his family was bigger than him. However, in 2014 and 2015, he realized how unhealthy he was and that he needed to change his lifestyle. He became very messy while drawing the most hectic woodworking tasks and didn't even have time to clean his shop, so he barely had any time left for himself. However, when he began to have health problems, it was a huge eye-opener. He looked at his daughter and knew that if he continued to live this way, he wouldn't be around for long. So he started making healthy changes in his life, and it ended up being the best choice of his life. He lost 55 pounds and became much healthier, and he did this by incorporating cardio and weight training into his daily routine. Journey had given up his passion of fatty bacon and was eating healthily. The Napier family has also been making an effort to avoid social media as their celebrity has undoubtedly affected them, and they're seeing some quite unsettling things there. Ben doesn't really like to feature his little daughters on the show that often, and even if they're seeing their faces are mostly blurry, which makes it really hard to recognize Helen that she was going to have a sibling, and she said it's a Gail, it's a girl, because a Mallory who's on the show had just had Lottie. Lottie and we were like, well, yep, it's all because Ben doesn't want to invade the privacy of his daughters, even before they're an age of making a decision whether they want to star in the reality show or not. But the worst thing happened despite them being so protective of the children, as creeps are literally everywhere. It all started when a very strange man shifted near their house. He was more than 50 years old, and was from California, but the shady thing was that he used to dress as if he's the stormtrooper from Star Wars, and he even used to wear some sort of bracelet on his ankle. And wait until you hear about what he had in his house. Well, nothing. Yeah, he didn't have anything with him, and lived in an empty house with just a suitcase. But the man who didn't have much furniture, or even plates to eat food, he had toys for Ben's kids, especially for Helen, who was really young, and he gave nightmares to the family. The man used to say things like, he's been sent from Garden, he's their savior, and he'll be protecting all the women of the town from evil. But he specifically said he wants to save Helen, which was the most dramatic thing for Ben to hear about his daughter from a 50-year-old man, especially when he's well aware of his intent. And the worst part is that the man stayed around the corner from Ben and his family, and Ben had to call in security who was with his daughters 24/7. It was the hardest time of his life, because he's never been so afraid of his daughter's safety before this. The man even tried to follow the little girls, and walked with their nanny when they went out to hang out in the park for a bit. He even said some pretty nasty things to the nanny in front of the girls, and this incident has scared the whole family for life. They're now more conscious than before, and tried to keep their daughters away from the spotlight as much as possible. And this incident showed them that no matter how famous or powerful you are, there would be times when you will feel helpless. And this was one of those times for Ben. However, he and the other town people didn't just sit quietly. They constantly complained about the man and how he was being really shady with all the women and little girls of the town. Fortunately, the authorities didn't push this matter under the rug and quickly took notice because of the huge number of complaints. Inquiry was initiated against the man, and he was never seen in the neighborhood again. Another scary part is that it was all happening during the time when Ben's wife was 9 months pregnant and really struggling. So after this, Ben started walking on thin ice and always made sure that the privacy of his daughters wasn't breached in any way. Ben has been away from the spotlight for quite a while now, and although he's still flipping houses in his old-fashioned, he's not seen on talk shows and interviews as often. He actually has been a little unwell, and slight shoulder pain eventually became his nightmare over the years. He thought that the pain would go away, but it just kept increasing to the point where he couldn't even perform the most basic tasks. He then had to get surgery that took him months to recover from, and was quite painful too. His wife revealed that the doctors had to shave his bone spur, and his cartilage also needed to be trimmed, which is why the surgery was inevitable sooner or later instead of fighting it. Ben isn't going to sit on his talent at all. Although the past couple of years have been a little difficult for him, he's definitely going to expand his business and hire like-minded people while also giving us some much-needed nostalgia by showcasing gorgeous vintage and Victorian houses on the reality. Ben underwent surgery and recovered fairly quickly, but he also chose to hire a physical therapist and work on his movements on a regular basis so he could heal quickly. His recovery period was really difficult, but it appears that he's back on his feet with his wife and physiotherapist by his side.